Hello folks, today we will discuss about JavaScript variables var, let and const. So here I have one code snippet, and when I run this code, what do you think the answer will be? Think for a minute and put your answer in the comment section below. So now let's run it. We can see something very interesting. The first result is 10 and the next one is 5. So let's analyze why that happened. So in line number 1, I am declaring a to be 5. Then we have one if statement and which is always true. Then I am redeclaring a to be 10. Then I am console logging a, which is coming 10 over here, and that is fine. But what about this line? Why is it showing 5? To understand this, we have to learn about block scope in JavaScript. So let's remove this code and let's put one curly brace over here. So in JavaScript, any space between two curly braces is called a block scope. So here let me define one variable a to be 5, and here if I console log this one, console log a, we get the value of 5, which is fine. But what happens if I console log outside this block? We get an error, and the error is a is not defined, and that is because this let keyword defines a variable which is only present within this block. So this a doesn't exist outside this block, so that's why we are getting this error. So now let's change the value. Let's change the declaration of a from let to var. So now when I run this code, we can see we are getting 5. And that is because this var keyword is a function scope keyword. This is not block scope, and function scope is available outside this block also. So what are the limitations of function scope? Let's try to understand. So let me write one function over here and let's name it as function a. And inside this function we have our another block scope, and now we have a. So now if I try to run this one, we see that we are getting one error, and that is a is not defined. So what happens is, outside this function we have this console log a, and here it doesn't know what this a is. So now let me run the function, and now we are getting 5 from inside this function, and we are getting outside that a is not defined. Now outside the block, if I print a, so we are getting 5, and outside it is still throwing the error, and that is because this function scope is covering this whole space, and inside this whole space the var a is defined and outside it is not defined. However, if we change this to let, we will only be getting one console log a, and that is only 5. So that is the basic difference between let and var in as far as the scope is concerned. So now if I change the let to const, so this const is also one block scope variable, so we are getting only 5. However, the difference between let and const is that the const value can never be reassigned. So for example, I have a let a equals to 5 over here, and now let me change the value of a from 5 to 10. Let's put to console log, and so we are getting 5 and 10, and then we are getting errors. However, if we are changing this let to const, we are only getting 5. This line is not getting executed because when we are declaring something by const, we cannot reassign it to something else, because const, it means constant, and this can only be assigned once. So as far as block is concerned, this is the basic difference between var, let and const. However, there are a few more differences also. So now let's clear out this code and let's write something. Var of a equals to, let's name something. Let's name ash ketchum, and now we can print this value, and we are getting ash ketchum. Now one thing we can do in var is that we can declare the var after we are printing the var, and in this case we will get some undefined, and this is because of a concept in JavaScript called hoisting. We will discuss about hoisting in a future video, but what happens is for var, it is reinitialized. It is initialized even before it is declared. However, if we change the var of a to let of a, we are getting one error, and that is cannot access a before initialization, because hoisting for let and const variables work differently than vars. So for const also we will get the same kind of error. So that is another difference between the var, let and const. Now one more thing is there, and that is, let's say we have var a equals to ash ketchum, and now we can do one more thing. We can initialize var a once again, and let's name it Gary Oak, and now what we can do is we can console log a, and let's also put another console log after ash. Let's put it over here, and so we are getting the var of a initially as ash ketchum and then as Gary Oak. However, if we change the var to let, we will be getting one error. and the error is identify array has already been declared at line number. Okay, it's taking line number 5 first. It's showing the error at line number 5 because it is already being declared at line number 1. However, what we can do is we can remove the let, and we can only assign the value of a to Gary Oak. That we can do for let. So it is always recommended that never use var, because it can always be reassigned. Not only reassigned, it can be redeclared to something else. So in case you have a large function or a large program where you don't know where your variables are declared, or it could be written by some other developer, so you can change the values if they are declared by var. So it is always recommended to use either let or const. So that is the basic difference between var and let as far as assigning and declaration is concerned. Now there is another small difference between let and const, and that is the value of const can never be reassigned. We have checked already that once. However, we can change the properties of the value of const. So let's say I have const a, and this is an object. This is not a, and let's name it as hash ketchum. Name is hash ketchum, and let's also name Pokemon as Ash's Pokemon is Pikachu. And here, if I log a, we are getting this object. The name is Ash Ketchum and the Pokemon is Pikachu. Now we cannot reassign a. We have already checked that once. However, we can do this thing. We can reassign the object, the parts of the object, and we can reassign to, let's say, Gary Oak, and a dot Pokemon equals to the first Pokemon of Gary, if I remember, was Eevee. And now if I console log this one, we are getting that the value of a has been changed. So this is how const comes in handy in several situations. So let's say you have one class and you can change the properties of the object inside const, and because you cannot reassign const to something else, it is also very handy keeping your variable separate. Before closing the video, we will check one last thing, and we will remove everything, and I will write var a, and I won't assign any value to it. I will write let b, and again I won't assign any value. Now when I save, I see nothing over here, and which is absolutely fine. However, now I will write const c, and I won't assign any value. So now what do I see? I get an error, and that is missing initializer in const declaration at line number 3, and which is because when I am writing a const variable, I must always declare it with some values. It could be a number, it could be a string, or it could be an object, but there must be some value assigned to it. So that is how const works. So yeah, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.